What's up, folks at home? Today we're gonna head underwater and we're gonna talk about baits that we wanna fish to hit those pre-spawn transition zones from deep all the way to shallow. So join us, you're gonna like it. Let's head underwater. All right guys, so let's talk about how I break down any lake. Here, I'm on my Omnia fishing app. In pre-spawn, I wanna look at this lake here, and this is Lake Wabi that I'm on. I wanna check a couple things. One, I wanna check my charts to kind of see what I'm looking at, and you can see Wabi here. We got a nice deep lake with a couple of areas that pop up into different water levels, and what I want to do is I'm going to roll straight from the boat ramp right here down the middle of this cut leading in right here, this 26-27 foot of water, because what I'm looking for are the depth that bait fish are. Because in the pre-spawn, I want to know where the bait fish are, and I want to know how that intersects with cover. So right here, what I'm doing is I'm running my side scan, and I'm running right down the middle of this lake that you can see right here, kind of angled towards this point over here, right? And what I'm doing is I'm looking and looking and looking to see where those bait are. The next thing that I'm going to do, I'm going to change my layer here, is I'm going to look for bottom hardness, and I'm going to see where are these spots that intersect with the depth that I'm fishing. And right here you can see this 19-foot depth. You've got some 20-foot, 19-foot depths right here that come out to a nice hard spot and a point. You've also got a nice big looping area over here in the 19-20-foot range where there are hard spots. And what I'm going to do is that's where I'm going to start in the pre-spawn. And as that fish and those water warm up and the moon phase gets right, we're going to work consistently shallower. So right now I'm going to share baits that I would pick up and throw in these situations, because basically I'm going to hop from hard spot to hard spot. I know those fish are going to spawn in these channels. I know it's going to spawn back here in the kettle. What I'm looking for is the ability to find those fish out deep and then follow them in, right? So I want to think about that as I'm fishing. This is a great transition area right here that's long, has a lot. You can see right here I graphed some fish on the underwater. I'm rolling right over that point right now, and it's going to allow me really to pick up a bait that I have a lot of confidence in and a lot of confidence in the area that I'm fishing, and really get after these pre-spawn fish. So let's head underwater. Let's see what baits I'm picking up in this situation and how I'm going to really go about catching these pre-spawn fish. All right guys, one of the best way to get in contact with these fish on transition areas, if the water is high 40s, low 50s, is cranking. When I'm hitting 20-foot depths in this water temperature, I'm looking at one crankbait. I'm looking at the River to Sea Tactical DD 22. And this bait is killer. One, I like the general profile of it. It's got a nice tight action. But two, I really enjoy the thump that it gives. It gives a very good thump on that 12-pound fluorocarbon, 10-pound fluorocarbon that I'm cranking it on, and I'm just grinding this bait along the bottom, really trying to make contact with the bottom, because fish are sitting belly down and they will chase this bait. So if you can dredge this bait through those dark, hard bottom areas in that 18 to 20 foot depth, you're going to literally hook up with bass. They're going to react to it. Speed cranking is a definite way that you can hook up with bass in cold water. It's the same phenomena as the A-rig, right? Fish will chase it down and eat it. Now, as I follow those areas that are hard bottom areas and transition areas more shallow, I'm going to turn to other baits as we get shallower. So as we get into the 6 to 8 foot range, I'm going to turn to the Bill Lewis MR-6 here. This is in Tennessee shad. This bait is very good. It's almost a flat-sided crankbait in the way that its action looks, but it's a crankbait that a lot of guys don't throw. This is a fantastic bait. I've found cranking those mid-depth transition areas. I really like the profile of this bait. I really like the wobble of this bait. It looks really good underwater, as you can see here. It's got a nice hard shimmy, but it's also pretty quiet comparison to a lot of other crankbaits in that mid-depth cranking range. And it's done a lot of good work for me. I really like the hardware on it. It's a solid bait, and it's an underserved bait. A lot of guys up here don't do a lot of crankbait fishing. The MR6 is just a hidden gem for me, right? It's a bait that I don't tell a lot of people about because it does catch them, and I really like them in crawfish patterns too. I really like them in shad patterns. It's a bait that produces for me throughout the spring. Now, a tried and true classic here. You have the Bandit right? 100, 200, 300, all of these baits catch fish. I'm going to throw the plug that's going to make the most bottom contact. So here's the Bandit 100, and it's just a great plug. I love it in crawfish colors. It's a plug that I grew up throwing on Lake Cumberland a ton in the spring because it's just a bait that I have a lot of confidence in, and it's a bait that's going to get bit. It's also undersized in the crankbait game, and I love that about this bait because it's a very tight, concise package that fish really love to eat, and I love the colors, right? Those muted crawfish colors in clear water like you see here sometimes are the ticket. And this bait grinding through those areas in that 6 to 10 foot range look really, really, really good, right? You can get bigger bandits, but honestly, this is the size that I prefer right here. And this is the color that I prefer, that mustard color, because it just gets bit, especially in the 50-degree water temperature range. It's what fish want to eat in that basic time of year, water clarity, pattern type deal. They're looking for crawfish when those water hit 50 degrees. Can't go wrong throwing a crankbait. It does a really, really nice job. It rises up good. It cranks through cover well. It's just a do everything crankbait. Like if I was going to teach someone to crank this time of year, this is the bait that I'm giving them because I have such confidence in a ton of different situations, right? Next up, we have the 6th Synth as we're working shallower. This is the Metal 2.0. It's the Axis Metal 2.0. It's got a metal lip on it. It's self-correcting. But what I like about this bait is it's got a big, hard knocking action. It's got a big S-wave action in it. I like it in black and blue as we get shallower, as we get around timber or we get around rock. I really like this bait because it's got a hard thump and it's a different kind of look. Right, Caden has caught a bunch of fish on Webster Lake throwing this over 5 to 6 foot grass beds in the early spring. He has a lot of confidence in this exact color right here. One, because it's muted, but two, that metal lip kind of gives it a different swim in the water. And you can see that hard thump here, so it's got that interesting wobble on it for a crankbait. It's a different look. Most guys are throwing a square bill with a little bit of a tighter action. This has a bigger, almost swim bait-esque S-wave action to it, and it's a great bait. It comes through a lot of stuff really, really good. The metal lip grinds through rock and gives it a nice high-pitched whine sometimes, and that's just something that fish are going to look at differently, right? And sometimes we like to be different. We like to throw different baits in different situations. Black and blue crankbaits, you don't see a lot of those either. Really like the color scheme on this bait. Now, if they're not biting the cranks, what I'm going to slow down and do is I'm going to grind a spinnerbait through all of these locations. Spinnerbaits, I make my own. I always have, right? I like 3/8 ounce spinnerbaits, and I especially like double willows this time of year. As we move from the 40s where it's cold and you want to throw that Colorado blade or that Indiana blade, as we move into that 50-degree temperature, I want the bait to get down. I want it to stay close to the bottom. I want that willow leaf. And I really like serrated willow leaves. You can see right here on this bait, I have serrated willow leaf on the back in gold, and it really just looks clean, right? I have a 6th Sense swim bait, the whale, on the back right there. I always throw a trailer on my swim baits, or a grub or something like that on a spinnerbait. It just helps the fish eat it better. You don't really see me throw a spinnerbait without a trailer anymore. I like them better than trailer hooks. I feel like when the fish come up and ram that bait to feed, it just helps them pull that hook into their mouth, right? I really like blue this time of year too in that color scheme. And as we get super shallow on transition areas, I'm going to start to throw the swim jig a lot more. Here you have a 3/8 ounce swim jig that I make myself with a different trailer on it, rigged upside down, right? You have that Berkeley grass pig rigged upside down, and I'm basically going to stroke this in and out of vegetation, right? I'm looking for bass hanging on the bottom, bass hanging on stuff, but I really like this bait right here. One, because it's very subtle, and two, because it simply just comes through every kind of cover imaginable. I've always made my own spinner baits and jigs. It's a way that I can control the action that I want in the colors that I want. All right, guys, hope you enjoyed heading underwater, seeing how we target those transition areas, looking for those hard pieces of cover where fish are gonna stage. They're gonna move from deep to shallow in the pre-spawn. Water temperature is big. Using your Omnia fishing app, you can find those hard spots. You can find those vegetation pieces, and you can really key in on what those fish are holing in. Remember, you want to download that Omnia app right now. There's a bonus link on our page right now. If you look down in the description, there's a link there that'll get you a discount on Omnia. Help us out, help the channel out. We'll see you out there next time, guys. Give us a like, subscribe. We'll see you next time.